What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the Saturday edition of the NHL Strategy Show. I am your host, Josh Harris. I'm a little bit jacked up on sugar. My wife went and got her hair done, and it's right next to a Starbucks. And she came home with an iced tea, and she put 10 sugars in it for me. I'm a little wired right now, but joining me, as always, some Cliffy. Got his wrestling sweater on, and it is Saturday. What's going on? Bret Hart. That is Razor Ramon.
Yeah, it is Razor Ramon. 5 out of 6 for Christmas sweaters. I forgot. He was on Tuesday's show. I wore my Sasha Banks one. Today it's Razor Ramon. Ordered another one. Hasn't come in yet. Ordered it a month ago. Wish it would get here. But no, huge slate here tonight. The very first thing that stood out to me about this slate tonight is it's superstar laden, right? Like you have Edmonton on the slate, you have Tampa Bay on the slate, you have Toronto, you have Roman Josi, you have Colorado and all their stars. Like there are, and kind of thankfully, I think Minnesota and Vancouver are playing this afternoon and not on the slate, because adding those guys to the slate to these 12 games would have been even worse. It's giving us some interesting ownership. Obviously, we'll talk about that through the day, because there are so many high-end options. They're kind of cannibalizing each other's ownership, so nobody's like abnormally high, and then it's leaving some of the mid-price spots under owned, because you can't fit the $22,000 line with a $16,000 mid-price line on DK. So it's giving us some reasonably low mid-priced spots to go through. So pretty nice slate. I actually like this one. I think I say I like just about every slate. It's usually a lie. I don't like most slates. This one I actually do, and I'm kind of excited to break it down.
Yeah, I do like this slate. My wife says in hopes of making you more sweet. That is impossible. Jesus. No, but like I'm just annoyed at DraftKings. Like and NHL isn't even the only sport that they took out today. Like the GPPs are pretty poopers today, but there's a massive. This hat makes me look like I have a giant 5 head. We'll turn it this way. I do have a giant 5 head, but it's okay. There's a giant MMA pay-per-view tonight that locks at 6:30 p.m. It's a really good card, and they ran a giant $25 with $200K to first, but the rest of the GPPs were awful. They were filled this morning. It doesn't lock for another 4.5 hours, and it's all because there's a 3-game NFL slate. They, God forbid, one of their NFL GPPs doesn't fill. But like, there's data. NFL does not affect the other sports. There's still going to be interest there. People willingly pay $80 for an MMA pay-per-view tonight. But the NFL games. And then if there's like even one NFL game, the NHL GPPs I'm over it. I'm not over it, but I'm.
Yeah. I still get fired up about it once in a while, but at this point, like we've been beating our heads against this door for like 3 years now. It's just not going to change, and it sucks.
Yeah, I went on a rant in DMs this morning too. I need to get over it. I should talk to someone about it instead of yelling into the void. Jessica, get on that. Let's get into the slate. Before we do, I just wanted to say thank you guys for all your support on the show on Thursday when we let you know what the deal was. You guys showered us in super chats, we'll say. We really, really appreciate it. Now, the way you can support us further is, there's the links in the description below. But I will drop our affiliate chat, our affiliate link in the chat. And it doesn't even have to be NHL subscriptions. If you're interested in doing NFL lineup builder, PGA, any sport really, you go through that link. It helps us directly, helps us bring these shows to you more often. And I hate that it sounds like I'm begging to do this, begging you to help us. And that's not the case. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. I'm not going to make you spend your own money, but this is how you support us directly. This is how you see us on the show more often. I will drop it into the chat right now. There are the links in the description below. So yeah, we got a $169.69 super chat from Larry B in memory of No Teeth and Slapdick. gone but never forgotten. No teeth, 13 leg hits parlays that he'll hit 12 legs and then yell at the NHL Twitter about missing hits. He got suspended from Twitter for going on a interesting Trump rant. We'll just leave it at that. Slapdick made a nice argument that Jason Robertson was better than Connor McDavid last year, pouring out for the homie Slapdick. But thank you very much, Larry. I know that $169.69 is your Social Security check because you are one of the oldest people in the country right now. But we appreciate you and all the work you do for the Live Tour.
Yeah. Thanks for the super chat, Larry. That's really generous. We definitely do appreciate it. We appreciate you popping in the chat whenever you can, whether it's here or the Discord. Not a whole lot to say, except, we've definitely felt the love over the last few days. So thanks.
Yeah, we really do appreciate it. And then the amount of DMs that we've gotten, and I'll just clear it up because a lot of the questions were, do you guys get the super chats or just go to Stochastic? Like, Stochastic isn't the enemy here. Like, they've been great to us. They're letting us continue under their banners. It's our choice to be here. But the super chats do go to us. Obviously, YouTube takes their cut, but we get the rest. It goes to us after YouTube takes their cut. So Stochastic don't have their hands in our cookie jars with the super chats. So just wanted to clear that up because a lot of people were asking. But I put that link in the chat. That is a nice way to help us out as well if you're looking to get any kind of subscription. And again, you don't have to. Slapdick is not a name anyone would self-apply where I come from. I had a joke. It left my head. Let's get into this slate. New York Rangers, they 2.7 total. Heading into Boston, the Bruins have a 2.8 total. Both these teams played last night. Both these teams won. Both these teams won on the back of their power plays. Rangers 5-on-5 has been a bit bad recently. I think 5-on-5, I think they're the worst in the league of expected goals against per 60 over the course of the last 10 days or 2 weeks or something like that. Last month, yeah. I mean, listen, they got off to a blistering start. So then you had the Fox injury. You had, Keandre Miller is out. Shesterkin has been shaky lately. Somehow Quick has been their better goalie. Goalies go through ebbs and flows. He has been bad recently. I will take the bullet there. I've been, if you guys want to get me riled up in chat, you talk about how Shesterkin sucks, but he actually was pretty bad the last game. So I was a bit surprised that these totals were so low. But you know what? I don't know. Both these teams are on a back-to-back. I see there's a ton of ownership on Boston 1 here. I don't know if I want to, play chalk Boston back-to-back. They are home. It is Shesterkin in net for the Rangers. I mean, the defensive numbers are a bit worrisome. And if Keandre Miller is out again for personal reasons, he's missed the last 2 games, this is a really good matchup for Boston 1. Maybe the Rangers figure it out, but, how do you apply that in a macro perspective? You just don't know. So, yeah, Boston 1 makes some sense, but, getting negatively leveraged Boston 1 in the 2.8 total doesn't feel great. You can do some stuff with the power play. That's fine. Same with the Rangers side. I don't think I'm getting to this game in 1-3, but on the Rangers side, I think you can do stuff with the power play.
See, this isn't a very good power play spot. I think that's why you're kind of seeing the low totals. And I'm not just saying that. Over that month span that we were talking about, Rangers 7th by shots against on the PK. Boston is 11th. And they're both top 10 for fewest goals against on the PK as well over the last month. So I think that's kind of the issue here, is that both these teams, even though these teams' 5-on-5 defensive numbers have slid over the last month, the penalty kills have still stayed pretty good. And it's really, really hard to score a pile of 5-on-5 goals all from one line in one game. That's just kind of what it is. And that's why, I don't really think I like stacking out of here. And I'm not going to say like don't stack, because the top stacks tool is showing the Rangers specifically with almost no ownership. That Panarin line, 0.5%, 0.1% on the top line. Nobody's playing the Rangers here tonight. I think kind of justifiably so, because this is a team for most of the year, any 5-on-5 goal scoring they've gotten has been from the second line. Now, the top line has been scoring more of late over the last couple of weeks, especially with Blake Wheeler there since Capo got injured, which is that's something else entirely for a different show. But, you know, maybe one of these teams comes through on the power play. It's hard to see either side getting like 2 or 3 power play goals or something like that. Like, I don't think Boston goes like 3 for 5 on the power play here or something. So, honestly, I'm fine with using, I think, Rangers 1 here tonight. They're coming in with almost no ownership. Zibanejad and Kreider have looked better offensively with Blake Wheeler there. Defensively, they've been a little bit more porous. I'm not super worried about, a matchup, whether it's against the Charlie Coyle line or the Morgan Geekie line. But honestly, I think this is a one-off game for me. I think this is a game where, obviously you can one-off David Pasternak. He's one-offable basically all the time. But, Geekie got minutes last night, got points last night, and he's been playing more minutes with Pavel Zacha, and he's on the top power play unit for whatever that's worth. Like, one-offing him, I think that's fine. Brad Marchand's been shooting a lot more of late as well. 37 shots in his last 10 games. You can one-off him. You can one-off Artemi Panarin. You can one-off Mika Zibanejad. I think that's kind of the approach I would take to the forwards here tonight. I see a 5.5 total. I see neither team higher than 2.8. It's a 12-game slate. Both have really good penalty kills. Anything can happen in hockey. Hockey's a very weird game. I just think this is the spot to maybe grab a one-off somewhere and then just move along. I don't think I'm stacking anything here.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to stack something, I think it would be Rangers top line. And that doesn't even excite me because Blake Wheeler's on it. So, I'm kind of in the same boat there. We have a $99.99 super chat from Splendid. No message attached to it, but congrats to you for taking down the $40 on DraftKings yesterday. Saw your message in the Discord. You said Cliffy slandering how bad Chandler Stevenson was all season got you onto Buffalo too. Great night for Buffalo too. Great night for you. Congrats to you.
Yeah, sometimes the slander works in the other direction. Like, often we joke about slandering players, kind of motivating them to producing that night. The long-term slander has caught up to Chandler Stevenson, and it definitely helped Splendid out last night. So congratulations on that takedown of the $40. Thank you very much for that $100 super chat. It's very generous. We certainly appreciate it. Hopefully you can take down that $40 again here tonight.
Yeah, congrats to you. Slender lineup undefeated. I thought you were going to a wedding. You need the sombrero? New Jersey Devils with a 3.9 total. Heading into Columbus, the Blue Jackets have a 2.8 total. I am honestly a bit surprised that the Devils' ownership came down on the top line a little bit. I guess it makes sense because that second line is super cheap. Heischer, Meyer, and Palat, and they're getting, 13%. Hughes, Bratt, and Toffoli, 22,300 to stack. I think they're the second most expensive line besides Colorado 1. They're coming in with just under 10%. Like, sometimes I will be like, oh yeah, let's stack the Heischer line tonight because the Hughes line's getting a ton of ownership, but it's inverse tonight, and Jack Hughes is their best player. You play the best players. Jesper Bratt, we don't talk about Jesper Bratt enough, right? If Jack Hughes didn't get off to the start he was, he had at the beginning of the season, it was Jesper Bratt who had like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins level of ham on the power play to start the season. So you get Hughes, Bratt, Toffoli, fully correlated, 22,300 against the Blue Jackets who, 5-on-5, they're a disaster. Penalty kill, they don't take a ton of penalties, but their penalty kill, not great. So, I'm very much in on New Jersey 1 here. They have the highest total on the slate. They have positive leverage. They are expensive, and you obviously won't be able to play Colorado with them. You're going to have to find another line cheap line that fits in with them, but like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm in on the Devils top line here. On the Columbus side, like, I wish the Devils had some semblance of goaltending, so I wouldn't even have to consider these clowns. But like, the Devils' goaltending is atrocious, and these lines are all in the 11,000s pretty much. Fantilli, Gaudreau, Danforth, they're coming in negatively leveraged though, like almost 6%. Like, I just don't want to do that. Then you go to Marchenko, Voronkarov, Chinnikov. They're a little bit negative leverage, but they're riding an unbelievable wave. Like, their expected to actuals are just a scene. Like, they aren't creating shit. They're just scoring everything they create. So like, I don't want to play them. Do I even want to play Cole Sillinger, Kent Johnson, and Benstrom? Not really. But like, Kent Johnson's my boy, and I still don't really want to play him. That line's under 10,000. So maybe if you want to take like a Kent Johnson one-off, but like, the only reason I'm considering Columbus here is just because how bad the Devils goaltending is.
Yeah, and I will also say the New Jersey third line, not very good. Honestly, I'm at the point where I'm pretty sure that Michael McLeod is a better player than Dawson Mercer, but that's for a whole other day. Holtz and Mercer down on that. I don't necessarily want to talk about third lines on a 12-game slate, but Johnson did look pretty good in that game where he got 3 points. Like, I'm not a big Johnson guy. I have to admit, like, skills wise, he looked like he belonged. Whether he can sustain that for 55 more games or whatever, we'll see. Maybe he can. But that Mercer Holtz duo has been pretty bad defensively this season. Now, whether it's them, whether it's the defensemen that are playing behind them, 4.1 expected goals against per 60 minutes for that New Jersey third line so far this season. I think it's 4.6 actual goals against per 60 minutes. They are awful defensively. And Johnson, Sillinger, Benstrom, very, very cheap. I don't know if I would full 3-man stack them, but if you're playing super expensive Colorado or you're playing super expensive Tampa Bay or something like that, and you need a very cheap duo that's actually in a good matchup, I think like a 2-man of like Benstrom and Johnson is just fine here. Other than that, I don't know if I would necessarily be looking to full stack, but I think, Yegor Chinnikov's been shooting the puck a lot more of late. He's at like 17 shot attempts per 60 over his last 10 games. Like, that's a pretty good mark. So, one off Chinnikov would make sense. One off Fantilli always makes sense, like that type of thing. I think, a 2-man stack out of Columbus 3, if you are stacking one of those super expensive spots elsewhere on the slate, makes a little bit of sense, because that New Jersey third line is just awful defensively. Like, there's just no way around it. And with the injuries that they have on their blue line, I don't know why it would be getting any better. So Columbus 3, actually, for me, I like the best on that side. For New Jersey, I certainly get not wanting to stack that New Jersey top line because there are expensive spots elsewhere on the slate. What I'll say about that New Jersey top line is somebody's going to beat the brakes off the Columbus penalty kill here shortly, because while they're not allowing a ton of goals, it's been all goaltending. Columbus is actually 28th by shots allowed on the penalty kill over the last month. They're just allowing a lot fewer goals because, for whatever reason, their goaltending's been outstanding on the PK for the last month. Now, it's Danil Tarasov in net tonight. I think it's his first game of the season because of a knee injury. Whether he can fill the shoes left behind by the other goalies, I guess we're going to find out. But I would probably just go to that New Jersey top line. Like, around 10% ownership, I think, is perfectly fine. Jesper Bratt's had like among the league leading playmaking numbers so far this season at 5-on-5. And he's also been shooting the puck a lot more of late, which was like, and he's producing at 5-on-5, which was the big problem early in the season. You mentioned how many power play points he had. He wasn't doing anything at 5-on-5. That's changed. He's actually now producing very well at 5-on-5. And that, with that line together, there's no matchup I'm worried about from the Columbus side. So I really like New Jersey 1 here tonight. Probably Columbus 3 for me on the Columbus side. Otherwise, I'd just move along.
In agreement. Anytime we get a Kent Johnson recommendation, I'm in. New York Islanders with a 3.1 total. Heading into Montreal, the Canadiens have a 2.9 total. I was a bit surprised to see the ownership in this game because the Montreal top line is coming in almost 5 times more owned than the Islanders top line. Now I get it. Now that I thought about it, I kind of get it because there's so many really expensive good spots tonight. The Islanders played yesterday. They're kind of priced in no man's land where you can't fit them in with any of the expensive stuff. But like, let's relax. Let's take a step back here for a second. Bo Horvat last night had a combo meal, 3 points, and it was all on the power play pretty much. Barzal had 2 assists. I don't know what Lee did, but the Islanders power play is rolling here, and they're going into Montreal where their PK never had wheels on the train to begin with. Like they're just gone. Like this is a great power play spot. Yeah, the Islanders played last night. It's back-to-back on the road, but 2.4% projected ownership on that top line where they scored 3 power play goals last night against Boston. Now they get an even better power play matchup. I'm definitely in on the Islanders top line. If you want to go to the second line because Nelson and Palmieri are on that top power play unit, by all means, hop aboard. I'm on the top line here. On the Montreal side, I mean, the Islanders penalty kill is atrocious too, but the Montreal power play leaves a lot to be desired. We'll leave it at that. And negatively leveraged top line, I think they're fine. Slavkovsky, Suzuki, Caulfield. I just don't know if I want to play negatively leveraged Montreal on a 12-game slate.
Yeah, before I jump in on this game, just want to correct something I said about the Devils. When I was looking at that Holtz-Mercer, I was looking at the second half of their sample. Not as bad defensively, but their defensive numbers are still horrific on the season. 3.5 expected goals against, 3.4 actual goals against per 60 minutes. That's still terrible. So just kind of want to clear that up. I'm on the Islanders side here, and I say that as a Montreal fan that's hoping that Montreal can kind of pull this game out here tonight. I don't know why nobody's playing the Islanders. I honestly don't. The Montreal penalty kill is not very good. Over the last month, it's kind of funny. The only teams allowing more shots per minute on the PK over the last 4 weeks than Montreal is this very same Islanders team and the Arizona Coyotes. Not only that, Montreal's still one of the most penalized teams in the league, 3.6 times shorthanded per 60 minutes now. They have been taking fewer penalties since Arbor Xhekaj got injured and sent down. So maybe there won't be a ton of power plays here for the Islanders, and the Islanders don't draw a lot anyways. But the Islanders' top power play unit is very, very good. The only question for me is like which Islanders line to play, because I do think there is a little bit of difference in the Montreal lines and like their defensive ability. Like Caulfield and Slavkovsky are actually up to about 200 minutes together at 5-on-5 this season, which is not a small sample, really. Expected goals against numbers at 2.7, like that's a little bit below average, but that's far from bad or anything like that. Conversely, if you look at the Montreal second line, Jake Evans, Josh Anderson, and those guys.
Missed my mouth.
Really, really bad defensively. 4.3 expected goals against per 60 minutes. They will get some timeout against the Islanders second line. Now, the Islanders second line is coming in with negative leverage. 3.5% ownership, 1.4% top 2 stack. I think I'd be fine with some sort of Islanders power play stack here tonight. Like do like Nelson, Palmieri, and Barzal or something like that. Or, Barzal, Horvat, and Nelson. Like something like that. Even strength lines, I like the matchup for the second line a lot better. And, as good as the Islanders top line has been, and they have been very good since they put Anders Lee there, like 4.2 goals per 60 minutes is very, very good. The Islanders second line has been generating offense pretty well all season. And I was looking at their last 10 games. They're still creating 3.1 expected goals per 60 minutes over the last 10 games. So they're still creating pretty good offense, and they get a better 5-on-5 matchup. I think at even strength, I would prefer Islanders 2 here. But honestly, from the Islanders side, I just prefer just going straight power play stack. And, if you want to use all 5 guys, like use all 5 guys. But I do like the idea of an Islanders power play stack a lot more. On the Montreal side, it would be the top line. Like I mentioned, the Anderson line, not very good. I don't really have a lot of faith. Brendan Gallagher and, Christian Dvorak getting there. Maybe if you want a one-off Gallagher for like a cheap one-off or something like that, I think that's fine. But the Montreal top line is perfectly correlated. Montreal top line is going up against a penalty kill that has been worse than their own, and there haven't been very many of those teams. So I don't mind Montreal one here, but I think my favorite stack in this game is just going Islanders power play.
Yeah, agreed. Did you see Ronta got put on waivers today?
Yeah, I mean, had to happen at some point, man.
I guess Freddie is on the mend, probably coming back pretty soon. But anyway, they're not on the slate. Detroit Red Wings with a 2.9 total. Heading into Philadelphia, the Flyers have a 3 total. I don't believe Larkin's back, but it appears JT Comfort is going to be back. They kind of messed around their lines too. It's going to be Comfort in between Kane and Rasmussen, and then Joe Veleno, Raymond, and DeBrincat. I mean, Carter Hart's still out, but like Urson's been pretty good recently. Game's in Philly, so the Couturier line is going to go out against that Comfort line, and that definitely favors the Couturier line. This is a Flyers game for me. I know Couturier is a game time decision. If he's in, I'm in on Flyers 1. If he's out, we're going to have to see lines because we can, you know what I mean? Like Tortorella might just go full Tortorella. You just never know. If Couturier is in, I'm in on Flyers top line. I'm also in on that Frost, Tippett, Brink line. Now, if Couturier is out, it wouldn't shock me to see just if Torts doesn't have a seizure, he'll just put Frost in Couturier's spot and replace Frost. Otherwise, it could be complete bedlam if Couturier is out. But Flyers 1, Flyers 3. If Couturier is out, we got to wait on lines.
Yeah, I'm assuming Couturier is in. I wrote him up for the picks article today. Free to read over at Stokastic.com Monday to Saturday, most days. So just head on over to the NHL section on Stokastic, and you can read my article there. They have more than that line for Philly. That top line has more than double the high danger shot attempts they've allowed in their time together this season. So they're creating a lot. Couturier's added 1.5 shots per game since that top line has been assembled. Like, he's been a lot better. It's one of the reasons why he was in the picks article. They're also perfectly correlated on the power play. Now, you don't pick the Flyers for their power play. They do have one of the worst power plays in the league. However, Detroit is the second most penalized team in the NHL this season. They've given up the 7th most power play goals against per game. So if there was ever a game for this Flyers power play to get a goal, it seems like this would be a decent one to get it. And, I'm not really expecting the top line for Detroit. I don't think is going to be particularly bad defensively. The Comfort Rasmussen line. Comfort and Rasmussen have been pretty good defensively. They'll get the top pair defensemen behind them. I know Patrick Kane is kind of a drag on defense, but I think they're good enough to kind of support him. But once you get a little bit further down the roster for Philadelphia, things start to fall apart a little bit defensively. And that's why I kind of like Detroit too here tonight. DeBrincat, Raymond, and Veleno. DeBrincat and Raymond in their time together without Dylan Larkin, 2.3 expected goals for, not great, but only 1.7 against. They're controlling the play. 2 out of the 3 guys on the top power play unit. I know the Flyers have a very good penalty kill, but they're still there. Raymond's been getting more ice time of late. I think he's been over 20 minutes in 3 out of their last 4 games. Sam Ersson, he has been better, but, since that shutout, 3 goals against, 3 goals against, 3 goals against, 893 save percentage, it seems like he's kind of reverting back to the guy that he was. I understand not wanting to full stack. I think Lucas Raymond as a one-off makes sense here, but there's no ownership coming in on that Detroit line. They're going to be under 1% likely in a lot of GPPs here. I don't mind Detroit too going against the depth from Philly. As long as they avoid Sean Couturier, I'm not worried about any of the other matchups. So with the more ice time, 2 out of 3 guys on the top power play unit, they played well together this year, even without Dylan Larkin as their center. So DeBrincat, Raymond, and Veleno for me from the Detroit side. Philly 1 on that side is what I like best. I understand the Brink call. I don't mind playing the Brink Tippett line. But for me, if I'm full stacking in this game, it's Philly 1, Detroit 2.
For sure. So a couple options here. You can sign up using the link in the description box below to get access to the best NHL data and tools in the industry. I'll also share the link in the chat in a minute. You can go through there, but if you go through the link in the description below, you can get weekly or monthly for 10% off if you use the promo code NHL Strategy. You get player and ownership projections, you get the top stacks tools, you get the line combinations, and you get the Discord, which is very valuable. As you've seen with some of the super chats lately, a lot of winners recently. If you do use the link in the description below, it is our affiliate link and it does support us directly. So if you do go premium, thank you very much. Use promo code NHL Strategy. It'll get you 10% off. Pittsburgh Penguins with a 3.1 total heading into Toronto. The Leafs have a 3.5 total. Martin Jones is confirmed. Martin Senor Fiesta Jones is confirmed. Now hit his damn music. God, I'll never get it. I'll never get enough of that if Martin Jones gets more starts in the NHL. I don't even know who's playing now. I lost track. Pittsburgh, right? I do like the Pittsburgh top line here. It's just listen. It doesn't matter if it's Marty Jones. Doesn't matter if it's Samsonov. Wool's their best goalie. He's out, right? So is Samsonov better than Martin Jones? 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Who knows? You know what I mean? Their blue line has some issues. I really like Pittsburgh one here, even with Drew O'Connor on that top line. 18,600. They're coming in with positive leverage. The game is in Toronto, so they're going to see a fair bit of that Matthews line. Knees is back, so that improves them a bit defensively, but that line has been very high event with Nyes there. So I'm in on Pittsburgh one here. On the flip side, I also don't have much faith in the Pittsburgh blue line or goaltending. Like Yari's obviously light years better than Marty Jones, but I still don't think, he's the goalie he was for the cup runs. So I don't mind going to Toronto one here. As the Toronto top line is high event, so is the Crosby line. So, both of these top lines are definitely in play for me. You want to go to Tavares, Marner, Bertuzzi, I think that's okay. You want to go to Malkin, Smith, Pustainen, I think that's okay. But for me, my favorite lines in this game are the top lines.
Yeah. One thing I'll push back with is like Nyes. I don't think he'll make them better offensively than Noah Gregor. I don't think he's going to help defensively. The numbers, the defensive numbers with Nyes on the top line, at least by goals against, worse with Matthews and Marner together. And now that Nylander is there, the defensive numbers have been getting even worse. By expected goals against, 3.2 per 60 minutes of 5-on-5 and 75 minutes together, 3.3 actual goals against. They are kind of like this Pittsburgh top line on the other side. You're right, that they just kind of trade chances. You can do that when you're William Nylander and Austin Matthews. The problem is that you have Jake Gensel and Sidney Crosby on the other side. So that could definitely result in some goals against here. I wrote up Sidney Crosby in the picks article to highlight this point. I mean, one, Pittsburgh scored 2 power play goals in each of their last 2 games. That feels like a minor miracle. Like, honestly, they went a month without a power play goal, and now they put up. Now, it was Montreal and Arizona. Toronto does have a better penalty kill than those teams. Crosby is on a 102-point pace, despite, I think it's the lowest power play per game total of his career. Like, he's on pace for over 100 points, and he's had horrific production on the power play. If for whatever reason this power play starts to figure itself out, like Crosby could be on like a 120-point player this year, and I'm not kidding. I like Pittsburgh one. They are still generating, even without Brian Rust there, 4.2 expected goals, 3.4, 3.5 actual goals per 60 minutes of 5-on-5. Rickard Rakell, he practiced there, but he's not going to play. The top line is not that expensive, 5.9% ownership. It's giving them positive leverage. And I mean, 8.7% top two stack percentage. It just feels serendipitous to use that Pittsburgh top line here tonight against Party Marty Jones. Like, I'm not worried about the top line matchup. I'm not worried about the goaltenders. If their power play is genuinely turned a corner, this is a much higher ceiling offensive team than they have been. So I like Pittsburgh 1. On the Toronto side, I think I agree with you. It would be Toronto 1 in return. They've still been generating offense with Knies on the top line, 2.9 expected goals per 60 minutes. And we saw that game against Columbus. This is the frustrating part about Toronto. And I get why Leafs fans pull their hair out. If you told me that there was some sort of NHL tournament going on and every team only played one period of hockey and they would play to the maximum of their abilities, I think Toronto would be the best team in the league. The problem is that they just don't show up for like half of every single game they play. Like, honestly, they don't. They got a point against Columbus because they played very well for like 18 minutes and absolute garbage for the 42 minutes before that. They are capable of shredding absolutely everybody. I guess the problem is that Pittsburgh has a very good penalty kill, right? Like, it is one thing that they've been able to kind of hang their hat on basically all season long is the penalty kill is very good. I don't mind going to Toronto 1 here, but I'm going to be honest with how bad, like, Timothy Liljegren is back for Toronto. Maybe that's going to change something actually, because he is one of their better puck movers. I think he's underrated in that sense. So maybe that changes something for Toronto, but until I see improvements from their defense, because it's been like 5 or 6 weeks of pretty bad defensive hockey for Toronto, until I see improvements and until they start playing guys not named Marty Jones, I'm going to have a lot of interest in whoever's playing them, and I have a lot of interest in that Pittsburgh top line.
Same. Yeah, like the Leafs went down 5-0 and they went back and tied the game. Like that, like the last second half of the third period, that top line was always in the Columbus zone. If they put together a full effort like that, they would just absolutely just blow out teams, but they're not doing it. We have a $10 super chat from CG Deadly Fly Fishing. I never win, but you guys are deadly. Thank you very much. Hey, if you're a single entry player, you're not going to win a lot. It's just the way it goes. Like I shared in the Discord yesterday, I cashed for the first time in probably a few weeks. Like I've been in a massive slump. It just happens with the single entry stuff. You know what I mean? But if you have 1 or 2 big nights in your season, that will make your season. You know what I mean? So like I had that huge night, the third night of the season, and I'm still up 5 figures on the season because of it. And I haven't cashed. I've cashed once pretty much in the past month. So hang in there, just grind it out, and you'll get there.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for the super chat. I appreciate it. We appreciate it, certainly. Like I said, we certainly felt the love. I'll just kind of echo what you said. Like, if you are playing single entry GPPs, 1 or 2 nights are going to make your season. Like you said, what I dropped in our Discord this morning was saying 2 seasons ago, the 21-22 season, I had 1 big week in November where I took down GPPs on, I think it was a Tuesday and a Saturday. And I was basically a losing player for the next 4 months, but still had like a 9%, 8.5%, 9% ROI for the season, for the entire season, even though I was a losing player for 4 months after that, just because I had that really good week. That's just the way single entries go. It can be very frustrating to play because you can literally go months and cash very little. But once you do get that big hit, it'll make your entire season. So I would say, don't dip into your savings or anything like that. That's definitely not what we're saying. Definitely space out what you play and know how much you can play, but just stick with it. And if your process is good, you should get there eventually.
Yep. And we have a $25 super chat from Colin. He says, "Thanks for all you do, fellas. I appreciate the jocularity and sharp takes. Discord is always a festival. From your resident Sabres slappy. Was serious now 2 or less." I'll be honest, right? I know the name Sarius, right? And I saw the new two or less with the Sabres logo. I was like, how the hell did we get 2 different Sabres fans in the chat? They don't exist. Like, I don't see them very often.
I was kind of confused. I was like, maybe there's a third, and now Sarius is just kind of hiding. So, no, thanks a lot for that $25 super chat. I mean, Sabres slappy, but Sabres got there for some people last night. So hey, even the slappies get there once in a while. That's the beauty of DFS.
Every time I log into DraftKings Sportsbook and look at my open bets, it's just Tage Thompson for season long stuff, and it's just like, oh man, yeah. I'm an idiot, but yeah, it is what it is. Colorado Avalanche with a 3 total heading into Winnipeg. The Jets also have a 3 total here. This is an interesting one. Kyle Connor is still out, and since Kyle Connor left, we have fueled up the flow chart with some octane. My God, they have been crushing in bad matchups. They have been awful in good matchups. The Sharks, they did nothing. This is a bad matchup. Now they're going to avoid the McKinnon, Rantanen, and Nichushkin line, but like 16-1 fully correlated against a team that takes a lot of penalties at 6.2%. Like if you're making mid-range builds, right? You have the Islanders in there, you have Pittsburgh 1 in there, you have Winnipeg in there. I don't know, man. I like Winnipeg 1 here. Fully correlated. I'm a big Vardy guy. Ehlers has looked a bit better. I don't know what his season was about last year. I think he was hurt. He was out for a little while with that injury. I don't know. I don't want to speculate. I like Winnipeg 1 here because they're going to get the depth of Colorado. And listen, their depth is not great, right? Rijo, Drouin, Kivi Ranta going to slow him down? Probably not. Colton, Logan O'Connor, Miles Wood, like that's a pretty decent, line. But there shouldn't be a second line in the NHL, like on this team. Like if they're fully healthy, Colton, O'Connor, Wood is their third line. So I like Winnipeg 1 here. And then listen, there's nothing else you can say about Colorado 1 that we haven't said already. They're 24,000 full stack. They're coming in with positive leverage. If you love the matchup, you play them. If you don't, you can play the Devils, you can play the Lightning, you can play the Leafs. There's just tons of options. If you are comfortable with $24,000 Colorado 1, you can fit them in with another stack that you like. You play them. It's just simple as that.
Yeah. Colorado 1. I'm not gonna. You covered Winnipeg pretty well here, so I'm not gonna go too far into that. What I want to talk about is Colorado 1 because they're not coming. Obviously, they're not coming in with any ownership because of their price. Like 6.9% ownership. They're $24,000 on DK tonight as a 3-man unit. There was a little dip in their play, which I think is kind of to be expected. Like these guys all have to play like 23 or 24 minutes a night and carry all the offensive burden. There was a little dip in their play, but they've started to turn it around offensively again, at least a 5-on-5. Their last 5 games, 3.1 expected goals, 3.3 actual goals per 60 minutes. They're combining for about 10 or so shots every 20 minutes of ice time so far in the month of December. So obviously they're creating a lot every game. Now, Winnipeg usually uses that Adam Lowry line in the shutdown matchup. And earlier in the season, you and I were talking about how well that line was actually playing because we like to make fun of Mason Appleton here. And Mason Appleton was playing pretty well on that line. That Winnipeg line's not been that good of late. I was looking at their numbers over the last 4 weeks, 41 shot attempts for 61 against per 60 minutes. They're basically getting outshot by 3-2 margin. I really kind of like Colorado 1 here more than Winnipeg. Now, I mean, obviously they're a way more talented unit. They're going to play more minutes, all that. As many penalties as Colorado does take, they have a really, really good penalty kill. And Winnipeg doesn't. Like, Winnipeg had a terrible penalty kill to start the year, and it's been better of late, but still below average. And if you have a below average penalty kill, and Colorado is a team that draws amongst the most power plays in the league, I think they're drawing the 3rd most power plays per game of any team in the league. Could get a lot of power plays tonight. Colorado could. Not really a tough matchup against the Lowry line, as if this were a month ago or something like that. Not coming in with any ownership. I know how expensive they are to play. I just think there are going to be some people that just kind of move past Colorado. 24K. They're on the road. If I'm gonna play an expensive line on the road, I'll just play New Jersey or something like that. Like I get it. I don't want people to just kind of skate past Winnipeg because I think this is a better matchup than it looks like on the surface. And, it's a 3 total. Unless their defensemen score, all the goals are probably going to come from the top line. So I kind of like Colorado 1 here, even including their super expensive price.
I think that's the best point you made about Colorado 1. People are just going to ignore them and save the 1,100 and go to New Jersey here because New Jersey has a much higher total. It's a great matchup for New Jersey, don't get me wrong, but and Jack Hughes can eventually and very soon we're going to be putting Jack Hughes in the matchup proof category, but this is Colorado 1 here. They will run over everyone. They'll play 24 minutes. I think, you're going to see Colorado a little bit lower on than the Devils tonight.
Yeah.
Let's get to this factory of fun. Washington Capitals with a 2.9 total heading into Nashville. The Predators have a 3.1 total. That Nashville Carolina game yesterday was a mess. It wasn't Saros, who has a 958 save percentage in December. So he's going tonight. That top line, Forsberg, O'Reilly, Nyquist, they've been just rolling along, man. They were shooting on Raanta yesterday, but it doesn't matter, man. Forsberg's having an unbelievable season. No one has benefited more from Hines leaving that team than Philip Forsberg. I'm in on Nashville 1. They're another one of those mid-range lines that aren't getting a ton of ownership here. They're 18,000 full stack. There's nothing that really scares me on the Washington side from a defensive standpoint. I guess Kuznetsov is in the lineup tonight. Doesn't really matter. I'm in on Nashville 1. On the Washington side, I don't think there's anything I really want to full stack here. If anything, it would be the Washington top line. But it's been 10 games since Ovechkin has scored. Something weird like that. Strangely long for Alex Ovechkin not to score. They're going to go against Saros tonight. You can use that top line. I'm more maybe you one off Tom Wilson, maybe use a 2-man of McMichael Mantha if you're trying to fit in, Colorado power play stack, something like that. But the Nashville 1 for me.
Yeah, this is why I'm struggling with Nashville 1. For me, this is a pretty good Nashville spot. And, looking at the top stacks, there's not much ownership, 2.9% ownership coming in on this Nashville line, 4.5% top 2 stack percentage. Here's kind of the twofold problem I'm running into. One, Washington doesn't take a ton of penalties. They're a little bit below league average in that sense. Their penalty killed, it has struggled at times, but Charlie Lindgren's been pretty good and it's kind of saved them. And, Nashville certainly does get there a lot on the power play. Their power play is very important to their DFS upside. It's, it's important to a lot of people, but the Nashville top lines, their offensive numbers, 150 minutes over the last 4 weeks, 2.7 expected goals for, 2.4 actual goals for per 60 minutes of 5-on-5. Those are basically league average. That's a 150-minute sample. We're talking about 12 games or something like that. It's not a tiny sample. Forsberg has 10 points in his last 10 games, but 4 of those 10 points have been on the power play. And like I said, Washington doesn't take a ton of penalties. Goalie's been pretty good on the penalty kill. If I'm playing anything from Nashville, it is the Nashville top line. But I'm going to say, I don't really love this matchup for them. I don't know why they started Lankinen on the road in Carolina to save Saros at home for Washington.
I don't know.
I mean, it could work out for them because they won last night, so they could go 2 for 2. But either way, the Washington top line, if that shooting percentage just ever turns around, that's the only thing holding them back, right? Last 80 minutes together, 3.1 expected goals per 60 minutes, 1.4 actual goals because Ovechkin can't score. It's incredible. Yeah. Dylan Strome has actually turned into the shooter on that line, at least recently. 18 shots in his last 5 games. He has really good playmaking numbers. One off Dylan Strome, one off Tom Wilson, something like that. I don't think I would full stack here. Honestly, this looks like a game where kind of the New York Rangers Boston game that we talked about earlier. I think this is a game where I'd be going to pick some one-offs. I think a one-off Philip Forsberg is fine. One-off Dylan Strome is fine. Maybe grab a defenseman or something like that. I don't think I'm super excited to stack out of this.
Oh, yeah. Me either. I think Forsberg pair him with Yossi, or that's an expensive 2-man, or you can one-off Yossi, one-off Forsberg, something like that. Dallas Stars with a 3.4 total heading into St. Louis. The Blues have a 3 total. This game's a mess because Jake Ottinger got hurt yesterday. He didn't travel with the team to St. Louis. So Scott Wedgwood went pretty much the whole game yesterday. I don't even know who's starting tonight. It's either Wedgwood back-to-back or an AHL.
I think they announced Wedgwood already. He's going to be starting.
Yeah, so Wedgwood on a back-to-back. I don't think he was expecting that. So St. Louis still has that top line together. Kyrou cried in the post-game stuff because he got booed during intros for his comments about Berube, which was like strange. Like, okay, he didn't comment about the coach. Why are you booing him? It's not his fault he got that contract. Good for him. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, I'm in on St. Louis one here. Anytime that line's fully correlated together and they're under 17K, I'm going to play them. The more interesting thing here is who you're playing on the Dallas side, right? Because Robertson, Hintz, and Pavelski have shown a little bit signs of life here. But the thing is, our boys, Duchesne, Sagan, and Marchment, are going to get the depth matchups of the Blues, and they are bad. So, and there's no ownership on them either. Duchesne, Sagan, Marchment, 0.8% projected, 14K. Like, sweet. They were 12.9 like 6 weeks ago. They've come up 4% in price. I'm still going to play them. They're playing 16 to 18 minutes. Dallas 2, St. Louis 1.
So I agree with you on St. Louis 1. And here's what I'll say. I'll say this about Jordan Kyrou. Eventually, that shooting percentage is going to turn around, and he's going to start filling the net. I was looking at scoring chance contributions and scoring chance assists and all that stuff yesterday. Quite literally, on a per-minute basis, Jordan Kyrou, Connor McDavid, and Leon Draisaitl all have roughly the same scoring chance contributions per 60 minutes or per minute of 5-on-5 this season. Like, they are all neck and neck with each other. Kyrou's just going through a down shooting percentage year. I mean, that happens to people all the time. Maybe he's injured. Maybe it was the way he was playing under the coach, et cetera, et cetera. We just talked about Alex Ovechkin. He had like 17 out of 18 seasons shooting at least 11% or at least 10%. And then there was one season where he had a bad shooting percentage up until this one, actually. Those things just happen. And, people are unhappy with Kyrou. I think, if he doesn't show in the second half of the season, it's definitely going to happen next year. But that top line has been very good. 3.1 expected goals generated per 60 minutes, 5-on-5. They all got a fair bit of ice time. Couple guys on that top line were like 21, 22 minutes in that game against Ottawa. If they're going to be played that much, like, Dallas's goaltending has been pretty, like, maybe Jake Ottinger was playing hurt because his numbers have been taking a dive. Obviously, Scott Wedgwood's not something to be terribly afraid of. I agree with you on St. Louis 1, but I think I also agree that I like the Dallas side better here. The top line's 18,100. I think they're fine to play against, but I agree with Duchesne, Sagan, and Marchment. They're not coming in with any ownership at all. 0.8% ownership. Now, they are somewhat expensive as a filler line, but there's a reasonable chance they play about as many minutes as the top line will, because that's the way Dallas has been divvying up their lines. They're still creating a lot of goals, 3.8 goals per 60 minutes over the last 10 games together at 5-on-5. They're still getting about 40% of the power play time, which is not huge for a game against St. Louis, but, power play time is still power play time, and they get a great matchup against that second line. It is Dallas 2 that I like best in this game. So I think it would be Dallas 2, then St. Louis 1, then, Dallas 1 a little ways behind that.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking through their time on ice, the Duchesne line. They've been consistently like 15 to 17 minutes. So for 14K, that is completely fine because there is a good chance that like Robertson and Hintz play like 16 minutes too. So yeah. Buffalo Sabres with a 3.2 total heading into Arizona. The Coyotes have a 3.3 total. Both these teams played last night. Both these teams won. Buffalo beat Vegas 5-2. Arizona shut out the Sharks and won 1-0. If anyone watched that game, please let us know what the heck happened in that game. I was expecting a lot more goals in that one, but whatever. Here we are. Interestingly enough, now Alex Kerfoot is on the top line with Schmaltz and Keller. Zucker back down on the third line with Carcone. That makes that top line fully correlated. And Devin Levi went last night, who is their better goalie. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen probably in tonight, or it could be Comrie. I forget. I think they're carrying 3 goalies, so it could be either one of them. 14,800 fully correlated line against Buffalo on a back-to-back on the road. Yeah, Arizona's on a back-to-back too, but Buffalo on a West Coast trip. They are a bit negatively leveraged, but that's okay. It's nothing like egregious. Like, I can't believe I'm sitting here going, yeah, I'm thinking about playing a Kerfoot line where he's on power play 1, but here I am thinking about playing a Kerfoot line on power play 1. I don't mind Arizona 1 here. Our boys, Arizona 2, they just, you want to play them, go for it. Again, a little bit negative leverage there too. Buffalo side's a bit more interesting. Thompson, Tuck, Benson. Like, that's eventually we're gonna get a sample on them. Benson, like you talk about Zach Benson all the time. Like, you feel like we're gonna look back on that draft and we're gonna be like, how did Benson fall to 13th? He scored his first goal of his career was ridiculous. Like, he can play. He has the skills to be on that top line. Thompson, Tuck, Benson, 16,600 coming in right at their top 2 stack percentage. I also like Buffalo too. Like, I like the Buffalo side better than Arizona here tonight. So Buffalo 1, Buffalo 2, Arizona 1 for me.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Benson was their top line pretty much all training camp, wasn't it? Maybe it was Jeff Skinner instead of Alex Tuck, but it was, it was Thompson, Benson, and maybe it was Skinner. Maybe it was Tuck.
They wanted Tuck on the second line. For some reason, they wanted Tuck away from Thompson.
Yeah, that's right. But, they were planning on playing Benson and Thompson together. Like, they watched them play all preseason together. They're all on the top power play unit. That's where they were last night. Arizona's penalty kill, we mentioned it earlier in the show. There are only 2 penalty kills worse by shots than Montreal, and it was Arizona and the Islanders. So Arizona's penalty kill, not a whole lot to worry about. Like, their goalies have been very good on the PK. It's why they haven't allowed a ton of penalty kill goals against. But they do allow a lot of shots, and eventually, that dam is going to break. Arizona's doesn't take a ton of penalties. They're right around the league average. Buffalo doesn't draw a ton of power plays. They're below league average. But you might not need a lot against Arizona here tonight. The thing is I like the Buffalo second line a lot better. Obviously they went off last night. This isn't just chasing points. I've been, Peterka and Middlestad have been kind of, favorites of mine basically all, since they got put together. The last 4 weeks for Peterka and Middlestad, 3.6 goals per 60 minutes at 5-on-5. I think Peterka had 4 shots last night. He's actually turned up his shot volume quite a bit of late. I think he's shooting like 3.3 shots per game over his last 10 games or something like that. Like, he's been well over 3 shots per game. You only get 1 guy on the top power play unit. That's what sucks. But what I'll also say is you avoid the Michelli line, that shutdown line, which has been going out quite a bit against top lines. And, maybe Kerfoot stabilizes the top line defensively for Arizona. But the only matchup I'm worried about is that Michelli-Bukestad line. Like, other than that, I think it's free reign, especially if Sean Durzi is out again here tonight. He didn't play last night. So it's Buffalo 2. Like, I have no problem going Buffalo 1 here, simply for the fact that, 1, there's not a lot of ownership on them. 5.5% top 2 stack, 5%, or 5.5% ownership against 5% top 2 stack. I think that's perfectly fine. I just think the second line is a little bit better. Dylan Cousins, I dropped this in our chat, in our Discord earlier. From early November until now, Dylan Cousins has seen the biggest jump in some of his playmaking data that I look at of any player in the league, like pretty much doubling his assist rate, scoring chance assist rate. And if he's been shooting a lot more as well. And if he's a guy that he was pretty bad for the first 6 weeks of the season. If he's the guy that he was last year, Now, I think the second line is just flat out better than the first line. So I like Buffalo 2 here. I also like Arizona 1. I'm not worried about the Buffalo penalty kill. I bring up in the picks article, I bring up Arizona and how, a lot of the top lines points have been on the power play. I like Arizona 1 here. I think it's Arizona 1, then Buffalo 2, then Buffalo 1 for me out of this game.
Yeah, and Jack Quinn's been practicing with the team. He's not going to be back tonight, but when Quinn and Skinner are back healthy, they can roll 3 lines. This is why I bet that team in the preseason.
Just unfortunate they had all those injuries, and then guys didn't play well, et cetera, et cetera. Those things happen.
Yeah. Another team that is an interesting one. Tampa Bay Lightning with a 3.3 total heading into Calgary. Do we have to call them the Flames? They're kind of like a pilot light at this point. They also somehow have a 3.3 total. I don't know. Looks like Victor Herman is back tonight. All the beats had the autocorrect from Hedman to Herman today for some reason. Victor Hedman looks to be back on Power Play 1 tonight. They did not run lines unless they did while we were on the air, but I don't think they did.
No, I haven't seen anything.
If it is Kucherov, Point, and Hagel, count me in. Like, for whatever reason, well, I guess they just don't love playing Wolf. It is Dan Vladar tonight, and he is atrociously bad. If Hagel's on the top line, Point, and Kucherov, I'm in on Tampa 1. And that's all I'm going to say about that. If you want to play Stamkos, like a one-off Stamkos, that's fine. There's no ownership there. Like, he's coming off like a monster game. On the Calgary side, like, I'm not sure how they have a 3.3 total. Like, I get it. Like, Tampa Bay is not great defensively. I think if you do want to play Calgary, you just go right back to Kadri, Zari, Pospisil. You want to play Lindholm, Sharangovich, fine. But for me, it's Kadri, Zari, Pospisil.
Yeah, what we don't know exactly what the Tampa top line is going to be. I wrote up the Tampa top line in the picks article and put Brandon Hagel there because he was put there after like the 3rd or 4th shift of their 7-4 win in Edmonton. And I got to think if they moved Hagel up there before the end of the first period and beat Edmonton 7-4, that they're going to leave Hagel there at least to start the game. That's why I'm assuming he's going to be there. It makes them an expensive line. It makes them, I think it's 21,900 on DK if Hagel's on the top line. Now, if you do stack Tampa Bay and he does get moved, nice thing is you got Florida and Edmonton locking at the same time. So you can, just swap over to Edmonton power play stack or Florida power play stack, depending who you have for defensemen. Like if you put in a 4K defenseman with Tampa Bay 1, and then, you have to take them out because Hagel's somewhere else, then, you downgrade the defenseman and go to Edmonton 1. Like, there are expensive players that lock late. So even though it's only 3 games, there are enough expensive players from the Florida and Edmonton game that I would feel comfortable stacking Tampa 1, and then if Hagel's not there, just making some sort of swap. So that's kind of the way I look at it. The top line has been great with Hagel there. 3.6 expected goals, 4.5 actual goals per 60 minutes, 5-on-5 this season. They're really good there last year as well. Like, one of the reasons they've tried to keep him off the top line is because he can help other lines generate offense. And, once you bring that to Point Kucherov, then it's all systems go. I'm not worried about any of the defensive matchups from Calgary, like, especially with Dan Vladar in net. The Calgary penalty kill has been on par with San Jose's over the last 6 weeks. And we know how good the Tampa Bay power play can be. So I really do like Tampa Bay here. Tampa 1 is one of my favorite expensive lines on the slate. If I were to go to Calgary, like, they do have a big total, but I think it's kind of because they have 3 similar-ish lines. It's like each line can score 1 goal this game or something like that. It would be going back to Kadri, Pospisil, and Zari. It's, they have just been playing well. 3 expected goals per 60 minutes, 2.7 actual goals per 60 minutes. For what it's worth, you get 2 out of 3 guys on the top power play unit. But it's Tampa 1 I like best here by quite a bit.
Same. Yeah. Florida Panthers with a 3.2 total heading into Edmonton. The Oilers have a 3.7 total. Calvin Pickard going for the Oil tonight. This is an interesting matchup. No one's playing Florida for some reason. I think I want to play Florida for some reason. 0.6 projected on the top line, 3.8 projected on the Tkachuk line, which is with Verhaeghe and not Cousins. Okay, like, thank you, I guess. Like, I'll play them. No ownership, well, none, but like McDavid, Hyman, and Nugent Hopkins, who have like 69 expected goals per 60 in their last 500 minutes, are projected at 4.7%. Now, I will say that Florida's penalty kill has been excellent recently. They're going to, like that McDavid, they're going to see all the lines, but they're going to see a fair bit of that Barkov matchup, and like Barkov is just nasty. That's just McDavid is matchup proof. But when you have the likes of Colorado 1, Tampa 1, New Jersey 1, I don't think Edmonton is a must play here. You can play them. Don't get me wrong. They have a 3.7 total. It's the biggest total on the slate besides the Devils. I just think there's reasons why their ownership is projected at 5%. For me, I'm more on the Florida side here. If you want to play Edmonton 1, I think they're a very good play. Just buyer beware. As if Bob has the light bulbs on between his ears, I think this is a pretty tough matchup for Edmonton.
Yeah, it kind of sucks that they broke up the Kane, Brown, Draisaitl line in their last game, because that line sucked, and it would have been a perfect spot for Florida 2 here tonight, because Draisaitl and Fogle actually have pretty good defensive numbers. Fogle's typically a good two-way winger, so like he can help Edmonton in that sense. So it makes the matchup a little bit worse for Florida too. I did write up Carter Verhaeghe in the picks article. He got moved to the top power play unit for, I think, 3 power plays in their last game for Florida. If Matthew Tkachuk ever starts scoring, it's just one of the best lines in the league like that. And that's the other thing. Edmonton and Florida might have the 2 best top lines in the NHL. And I think they're both top 6 in the league by expected goal share and both top 4 by actual goal share so far this season. It is a pretty brutal matchup for Connor McDavid going up against Barkov. I did see Aaron Ekblad is going to be out tonight. He's not going to be playing, they're calling it precautionary or whatever. So, it does take a little bit of defense out of Florida, but they take their fair share of penalties. But you're right, they do have an elite penalty kill, and that's something Edmonton really needs power play to get there. Like, if anything for me, it is Edmonton 1. But I agree with you. I think I like the Florida side better. I'm going to be pretty interested in Tkachuk, Verhaeghe, and Bennett, because Verhaeghe's probably going to be on the top power play unit. I'm not sure if he's going to be listed as such in lineup sites and things like that. Eventually the goals have to start going in for Matt Tkachuk, and I can't think of a better spot to do it than facing Calvin Pickard. I like Florida too quite a bit here tonight. That line's been really good. They just have to turn that shooting percentage around. So Florida 2, then Edmonton 1 for me out of this.
Yeah. I mean, Edmonton 1's fine. It's McDavid. Do you know what I mean? Like, matchup proof. I'm just giving you the reasons why I like Tampa, Colorado, and New Jersey more. Last game of the night here, Los Angeles Kings with the 3 total heading into Seattle. The Kraken have a 2.5 total. No ownership in this game. None. There's one line projected over 1%, and that's the Bjorkstrand, Tolvin, and Gord line.
Jordan Eberle's out here tonight, and Tom
out. Yeah.
Ian Thomas Tatar is going to the new Seattle Kraken. Thomas Tatar is going to be on the top line with McCann and Beniers.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's a better fit for Seattle than he is for Colorado. I think that's
no doubt.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. You're telling me how much better Seattle's been defensively lately. I kind of had some interest in the top line for LA just because they're getting 0.1% ownership, and they're probably going to see Cartier, Wenberg, Tanev, and they haven't been great. So like in MME, obviously won't take much to get above the field on LA1, but this game is screaming some MME action for me.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of interest in stacking here. I think with Tatar on the top line, if he's back to the guy that he was with New Jersey last year, it would make that top line a pretty good defensive top line. So maybe they even use them as the shutdown matchup here. I think is something that could happen. It's just a pretty brutal matchup. I agree with you. I think this is MME only for me. If I were going to play anything, it would be like one off Kevin Fiala, one off Jared McCann, one off Oliver Bjorkstrand, that type of thing. It's like the Rangers Boston game earlier. I don't have any interest stacking here. Even with Vladislav Gavrikov out for Los Angeles, they're still a pretty good defensive team. And Seattle, they have scored at times, but they always spread out the scoring, which is why I prefer taking one-offs than slamming a line together.
Yeah, agreed. Like, I don't really love this game. And it is a 5.5, which you don't see too often anymore. So Vegas kind of agrees with that take. Coming up after us at 6 p.m. tonight, NBA Live Before Lock with Emac and Ryan. So if you are playing some NBA, stick around for that. Let's talk a little bit about defensemen here. Top of the board, you got Cale Makar at 8K. You got Roman Josi at 7,500 coming off a 3-point game. You have Noah Dobson at 7,200 coming off a goose egg. It was a pretty rough performance, but this is a very good spot for Noah Dobson and Evan Bouchard at 7K. I think, Makar, this is a great spot for Makar. I think this is a pretty good spot for Josi. Great spot for Dobson. Great spot for Bouchard. So if you want to correlate with your stacks there, go ahead. Colorado 1 plus Makar is 32,000. That is going to get very pricey, but who you like in that top range, and who else you like?
Yeah, Noah Dobson leading the projections here tonight. Crazy to see Noah Dobson leading the projections on a night where we have Roman Josi, we have Cale Makar, we have Erik Karlsson, we have Rasmus Dahlin, Miro Heiskanen. No, Noah Dobson at the top, and I can't really argue with it. I like Dobson. I like Rasmus Dahlin here as well. Like I said, pretty good power play spot for Buffalo, and he seems like he's just been getting involved more offensively, which is something that team desperately needs. So I like Dahlin here as well. The mid-price range, the guy that really stuck out is Zach Werenski. Like, I wrote him up in the picks article. If that guy is shooting like 4 or 5% rather than like the 1.3% or whatever that he's shooting this year, he's nearly a point per game defenseman. I like Werenski in the mid-price range. With Hedman back, I don't think Sergachev makes nearly as good of a play for Tampa Bay. Darnell Nurse, certainly I like tonight as well. Oliver Ekman-Larsson was back on the top power play unit for Florida in their last game. He's only 4K. With Ekblad out, maybe he gets some more minutes besides that power play time as well, so I don't mind him. Erik Karlsson as well. I don't know why. Maybe it was a dream I had last night, but it feels like I'm just having visions of Erik Karlsson going coast to coast for like a hat trick or something tonight against Toronto. So I do like Erik Karlsson as a one-off here. Lots of cheap defensemen I like. Timothy Liljegren's back. He's only 2,500. Jordan Spence has been getting more I think it was almost 19 minutes with Vladislav Gavrikov out, and he's only 2,700. Don't mind him in that Los Angeles game. Jordan Osterley. Chris Tanev is still out for Calgary. Osterley, I think he was over 20 minutes in their last game, or he was close to it. So Osterley, min-price guy, 2,500. Don't mind him. If you have a little bit of extra salary, David Savard is the guy who wrote up. That guy just loves blocking shots. Going back to the JJ Moser he didn't get there last night, but don't mind him. Simon Nemec from New Jersey, he's been getting some decent minutes as well. And of course, it seems like you got to mention him every slate until they get healthy. Alex Romanov from the Islanders.
Yeah, Romanov's getting pretty pricey. Mike Riley too. Like this guy, 21 minutes. He's been averaging 20 minutes a night since he came to the Islanders. 3,500 shoots the puck. I don't know.
I was telling you before the show, like Mike Stone. I think it was this offseason. Mike Stone retired, and that guy had absolute nutty peripheral numbers on a per minute basis. It was just like he played like 14, 15 minutes. Hopefully Mike Riley is that guy now, but getting like 20 minutes. That'd be
like if you create a defenseman for the Islanders, it's Mike Riley. Like he's a bona fide Islanders defenseman. So
yeah.
let's talk some goalies. Vitek Vanacek or Akira Schmid for the Devils at the top of the board at 8,500. Like if they're playing the Manitoba Moose, I wouldn't roster.
I mean, if you're playing a Jersey goalie at 8,500 on the road on a 12-game slate, like go with God. Just no thanks.
Yeah, I would go to confession in the morning. Let's see, Wedgwood 8,200. Swayman for Boston. You know, that's I think okay. You know, they're at home. Rangers have the low total. Marty Jones 8,100. Be a cold day in hell before I roster Marty Jones at 8,100. UC Saros is interesting to me at 8K. I think, Washington has been shooting the puck. Like they get pretty good volume. I don't mind that. The ones that stick out to me tonight are Vasilevsky at 7,800 and Connor Hellebuck at 7,500. I mean, if you really want to get spicy, Bob at 7,300, he's going to see the volume. Tristan Jarry, 7,100. I know I trash him all the time, but at that price, I will consider him. Also, don't mind Montembeault at 7K. So, like, people, I just want to say before I ask you who you like, I've gotten this question a bunch in the Discord, and people ask, like, "Oh, you like this team, but why do you like the goalie against them?" The reason I like the goalie against them is because I like the team.
Yeah, that's kind of the way it works. Like for most of the time, it's like we talked earlier about how much we like the New York Islanders tonight, and I talked about how much I like their power play here tonight. Sam Montembeault is also my number 2 goalie on the board, just because of the volume that he might see. Like if he doesn't let in 5 goals, there's a chance that he saves like 33 of 35 shots or something like that here tonight. That's kind of that's just the way hockey is. It's always a fun goalie night when the first 2 names I had were Joey Daccord and Sam Montembeault, but those are the first 2 names on my list, and then Igor Shesterkin third. I like both goalies in that game actually, but if I can get Igor Shesterkin, I think he's 7,300. If I can get Igor Shesterkin 7,300, I'm going to take it. But I like Daccord and Montembeault as cheap guys. I also had Hellebuck and Jeremy Swayman on the other side for the Bruins. I just like both goalies in that game.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a lean on a goalie, just play him. Goalies are weird, mythical, not human creatures. So, be looking for your hat trick pick.
Had him in the picks article. Saturday night. It's in Toronto. I think he's going to do it. Sidney Crosby.
I hate Crosby, but my God, would I love to see that. You cannot deny his skill, though. He's just a little baby. But anyway,
some other day.
There's another day. Cliffy needs to lay down. I can see he's uncomfortable. He hurt his back. Zach Benson is my pick. I got to go spicy, and I like Benson.
I like it, yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you again for all the support the last few days. It means a lot to us. Thank you so much. I'm going to put the affiliate link in the chat once more, if I can figure out how to copy it. I apparently missed it. If you're thinking about going premium in any sport, click that link. You use NHL Strategy, it'll get you 10% off weekly or monthly NHL, but you can do it for any sport, really. Thank you guys so much for the support. It means a lot. We will be back on Tuesday, I believe. I think going forward, we'll at least be here Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And if there is GPPs worth it on another night or a big slate, obviously on another night, we'll be here. But plan on us to be here Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday.
Yeah, except for next Saturday, because I think next Saturday is the 23rd, and I'm going to be traveling for Christmas, so I don't think we'll have no show next Saturday. But Tuesday, Thursday, this upcoming week for sure. Maybe we'll sneak in Monday or Wednesday, but anybody in the Discord will definitely let you know about the schedule. Just check YouTube, click that reminder. You'll get those reminders whenever we do come on the air.
Yeah, I might even go live myself, just me and some iced tea and some sugar for an hour. Wear your seatbelt, wear a helmet. It should be crazy. But yeah, look for us on Tuesday. Thank you so much for the support the last few days, and good luck, everybody, tonight.
Good luck tonight, everyone.